Hey everyone, we just want to remind you that this is just a silly podcast.
Yeah, like baby games.
Yeah, it's meant to be entertainment. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be funny.
I mean, it's much fun as you can have bitching, but yeah, go on.
I have a ton of fun bitching. Our hate is it's purely hyperbole. There's enough actual hate in the world already. All right.
Speak for yourself. I joined the group.
We love everyone. We encourage you to do the same.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that.
Heck, you gotta try. And now on with the show.
You should be barricaded in your house and kept off of the street, or sterilized, lobotomized, left in a car in heat. Cause the things you say and do tell me your brain cells are with you, and that is why I hate you.
Hey folks, welcome to the pod. We're back. This is Matthew,
And this is Joaquin.
and we're here to complain about something. So I'm looking at my list of things that I wanted to talk about. And I want to start off right away with one that you're probably not familiar with, but it was a big story in the old hockey world.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna tell you, and let's see what your take is. So there's this a hockey player, and I want to get his name right. So it's this player, okay, was signed by the Boston Bruins. This was like a week or two, a couple weeks ago now, and then it was discovered that he was this player. His name's Mitchell Miller. He was found guilty in juvenile court of harassment against this young. They describe him as a young black kid with developmental disabilities, and this apparently occurred when the player was 14 years old. And I guess the core incident, yeah, shitty. I guess the core incident that they describe is apparently he like rubbed a lollipop in a urinal and then made the kid eat it or tricked the kid into eating it or some
That
shit
sounds
like that.
like a shitty kid thing to do.
Right. So basically summary is when this, I guess probably now 18, 19-year-old kid was 14, he did a really shitty thing to this young black developmentally disabled kid. And that's the core incident, but I guess the family claims that it was ongoing harassment and it was continuing to go on until, very recently. It wasn't like it just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And the hockey world
was
kind
that
of
proven, or is that just what they're saying?
Well, that's one of the big things. So the hockey world was completely split on this, with a bunch of people like, fuck this kid, he's a piece of shit, he doesn't deserve to play in the NHL, he fucked up, he's a piece of shit. And then other people are like, well, we don't really know the whole story, which was a very small minority. And then the other side, which was just, oh, he did it when he was 14 and let it go. You can't punish somebody forever. So that was kind of the way I looked at it when I first saw the story. I was like, what's the whole story? Like, what actually happened? Because we've got the mother, I guess, of the kid that was bullied was really vocal about it, and all over the media and on news on news outlet, radio stations, stuff like that. And that was my suggestion. Was like, who knows what really happened? Because she certainly is saying that this was ongoing and it was a lot of targeted harassment over years. And then at the same time, nobody else was saying anything. Like, the kid's not saying anything. The team wasn't saying anything. The long story short, the Bruins withdrew the contract. I guess at one point the league said he wasn't eligible to play. And then the Players Association was like, no, you can't just say that. Like, anyway, It was a big deal. But it was it was funny. And I'm just thinking back and I'm like, man, there are so many assholes when I was a kid like that. I mean,
being an asshole,
I don't even want to get into some of the shit I saw kids.
Sorry if you guys hear purring.
But it was just like, I'm thinking, no, it's fine. Cat's sitting on Joaquin's shoulders right now. It's actually pretty cute. But I'm, and once I'm like, man, what a piece of shit this kid is. And, adding the fact that the kid was black and the fact that the kid was developmentally disabled is kind of like, does it matter? Like, if he was harassing the shit out of a kid, unless it was because of that. If he was targeting the kid because he was... Yes,
that's
sorry.
Exactly what I was going to say. No, that's exactly what I should be clear. It's like, you're putting a hat on a hat. Like,
right.
What? Like, first of all, you are equating, unless he was harassing him for those specific reasons.
Right.
Like, he could be taking advantage of him because he's developmentally disabled.
Sure, or targeting because he's black and he's a racist kid,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, first of all, like, we don't know. So you mentioning those things, you're just trying to sensationalize it. You're not
right
necessarily making it because of that, unless you have proof, not even that if it was that, you have proof that that's what it was.
Sure.
Because all you're doing is just trying to make it sound worse than
Absolutely.
it might have
Well, that's
been.
I mean
Which
that's
it
what
was
the
already
media
fucking
does.
disgusting.
Well, that was
That's
my
the problem. That's
that was
the
my
reason
initial
why people
point.
breed distrust in media so fucking much.
Sure. Well, that was my initial
And you
point. Was
create
like,
those weird
it's a
groups that are
horrible
like the
thing.
Jewish media and shit like that. Like you create those people
Did you see Chappelle on
because that's what the
SNL?
media does. I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was funny
People
too.
can hate me for it. You can hate me for it, but
I thought it was funny
I
too. But
thought it was funny because
it
I
goes
get comedy.
right.
Like,
That's what I was gonna
I
say.
remember a fucking movie called The Hebrew Hammer,
I don't
which,
remember that.
if I'm not mistaken, was made by a Jewish person. It was really fucking really.
Well,
It was about a Jewish superhero.
well, you made the perfect point there. It's comedy, and you gotta when you're watching comedy, you have to kind of let go all other things. You have to understand it's everything's a target, and it's for the sake of humor and laughing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be looked into as something that's just atrocious. It could just be looked at as it's just she's trying to be funny, making a joke.
Well, I have a friend who is part of the trans community who argued that point, and I might have mentioned it before. And it's like, well, when you spread harmful information and this that, the other thing, well, okay, I get it. But for Black people, because that's the one I can speak on without getting too much blowback, I guess. Is
I think you're
if,
you're entitled to speak about it.
Yeah, if I make the joke that Black people like fried chicken, and I make the joke that Black people steal radios, now one's a crime.
Right.
One is a fucking crime.
Sure.
But does it make me racist saying one over the other? Where
that's a
if
good
I
question.
say
I don't know.
Trans people are weird to me and I don't understand them, which, mind you, I'm not actually saying that. I'm basing it off of a Dave Chappelle joke.
Mm-hmm.
Are weird, which doesn't mean a bad thing necessarily. Weird, which I'm sorry, queer is part of their LGBTQ thing, which queer and weird are synonymous words.
Yeah. Yep.
Are weird, which means not common, or just like it's hard to understand because there are so many moving parts. So that's weird to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't understand them. That's showing a deficiency on yourself. And so the way I see the world, I'm going to make the joke like this. Because we joke about things we don't understand, which brings the magical word that they love, awareness, to the situation.
Sure.
It creates a dialogue. But when you turn it into an argument, it's no longer a dialogue.
Well,
and a person like Dave Chappelle just pushes back. So you're not going to get anything out of it.
Well, this would be a good segue into something else I wanted to talk to. I'm just trying to decide if I'm that I want to talk about. I just want to see if I'm done with. I guess I'm done with that hockey conversation. I just thought it was interesting that it was hard for me to make a decision because there was no information. It was just like, this is what happened 14 years ago, and we've got obviously a family member that's angry, that's saying, "Oh, it's ongoing," and it's like, okay, that if that's the case, that's another element to it. But
yeah.
I don't know. I was just thinking back and I'm just like, man, when I was a kid, the amount of horrible fucking things I saw. I'm going to tell a really fucking horrible story.
That smeared shit all over the bathroom in my school.
Well,
and I'm not talking about a developmentally disabled person. I'm talking about somebody who thought that shit was funny.
No, I know. So, okay, I'm going to tell a fucking horrible story. It's one of the worst memories I have, but I'm going to tell this anyway.
Oh, no.
A mutual friend of ours, his father passed away when we were very, very young. I believe it was before 6th grade, right? It was over the summer. So I remember going into 6th grade, the first day of 6th grade, and I got to school, and it was like, you know how it is. There was always these small groups of friends, and these kids were like fucking terrible. Like they bullied me all the time. They were just they were supposed to be my friends, but they were terrible to me and bullied me all the time. And I remember I got there and I had this Megadeth shirt on. I was really pumped about it because I thought it was really cool. I was like, I got this cool Megadeth shirt. And they immediately tore into me like, oh, look at you, your fucking stupid Megadeth shirt. Well,
no,
you know what? I think it was my uncle's because my uncle's 11 years older than me. So when I was in 6th grade, I thought he was super cool because he was like, 20 something.
Well, yeah, I mean, you find that idol.
Right. So I thought it was awesome. They immediately started tearing me. And then our mutual friend showed up and his father had passed away. And there were like these berries on the bush outside the door to the middle school, and they started throwing them at him and just basically laying into him and calling them his father's first name berries and just
Mm.
relentlessly mocking this kid because his father passed away over the summer, which is
Kids are fucking
fucking
terrible.
But so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, that was like unbelievably, savagely terrible fucking thing to do to a kid that had just lost his
Okay.
father. And I think back and I'm just like, those kids that were doing that. And I got to admit, when it happened, I was happy because they were not making fun of me
Well,
anymore.
because it's catharsis. That's catharsis for you.
Sure.
But what I'm saying, what I'm trying to get at to what your point is, and it drives me nuts. In this apparent, pro mental health, like fucking world we're trying to create, we don't also promote like brain development. That is how, and as frustrating and shitty as it is, children are little ids. They just do things.
Yeah,
When you see
that's true.
a little kid pick up a rock, look at it, and shove it in their mouth, we see those videos online and we giggle at it. We're like, oh, that's cute. It's funny.
Yeah.
He thought it was this. No, he didn't. His brain doesn't work like that. He just went nom nom and threw it in his fucking mouth like a
Right, yeah.
dummy because he's
Yep.
dumb. He's a child. And then when they grow up, as they're growing, their dumb little brains get a few more wrinkles, and those little wrinkles put in different little electrodes to make them go, huh, maybe rock don't taste good if I bite it. Maybe it tastes good if I just lick it instead. Like, they become a little less dumb. Now,
Sure.
bring in different environmental situations, and their dumb little brains gain more little wrinkles and trying to figure things out. When you're a teenager, you're an id with emotional and sexual defects that are just pumping into your stupid little skull, and you don't fucking know what's going on. And now you're going, maybe I can't eat rock. Maybe I can't lick rock. Maybe I can fuck rock.
I knew you were going there.
And because that's where it's going to go, especially as a teenager. I don't care if you're an asexual teenager.
Yeah, that's kind of the question in your head, right? Can I fuck it?
Based motherfuckers I've ever met in my life growing up. Somebody who claims they're asexual. I'm sorry. I just find that so fucking odd. How everything they do, like they're always some kind of weird artist that draws hentai and shit all the goddamn time.
Right.
But regardless of that, like teenagers and kids, teenagers are just adults with kid brains. That's what they are. They think like fucking kids. Most people, if that shit's perpetuated or hand waved, or they don't learn a lesson from those fucking things, growing up, or they don't die doing stupid shit, they become stupid fucking adults that don't know no better. And they go on daytime television or watch daytime television doing the same thing over and over again. I'm not a genius by any fucking means, but I have enough fucking common sense to know that I made a lot of fucking mistakes.
Right.
And as much as I hate to admit it, and because most people don't, I've done a lot of shitty things that I'm still learning from.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, I've done plenty of shitty things when I was a kid too. There were things I did that were shitty, sometimes perpetuated by the group I was in, just trying to go along with it.
Yep. I just have enough wrinkles on my brain at this point to know that there's a consequence to a lot of the things I do or want to do.
Right.
So I don't do them.
It just interested me because it was just immediate. It was just like it comes up, and without any other information, it was just either, oh, fuck this kid, he's a terrible human being, and or whatever. It was a long time ago, without knowing more. And it was just it just amazed me. Like, can't everybody wait to figure out what's going on before we all just make our decision?
Because the news has to come out first, and we have to make our decisions before anything is done.
It's true.
We just have to. And he's a white guy. He's easy to just fucking say shit about on the internet. In real life, because he's probably part of the Boys Will Be Boys crowd.
I'm sure.
But that's why he's getting defended by those people. But at the same time, the internet is mainly people who are just tired and angry, so they're just gonna lash out at any bad person they can find.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I don't know. It was just, I guess at this point he's not he's not signed anymore. It's funny because it's gonna cost the team. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's over for it's gonna cost the team a fortune because they just didn't do their due diligence. They signed him. It's gonna cost them a fortune just to continue to pay this kid and whatever other fees they have to pay. And he didn't even play, didn't even step on the ice.
Got a question. have you heard anything? I don't look shit up because I don't care about sports that much. But have you heard anything about Colin Kaepernick since the whole kneeling thing?
Like on and off over the last few years, every once in a while something would creep up. Just something about like what was going on, like, oh, Colin Kaepernick. A lot, you know what? A lot of it was just, oh, remember Colin Kaepernick? So it would just come up, like something would happen.
On the
like
opposite end of that,
right?
Like life ruination.
Well,
it happened.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's hard to compare the two. Like, you're talking about.
Here's where I compare it. I'll find it because the reason why I used it because the situations are completely different.
Sure.
But the life ruination part is exactly the same on the opposite end. People are probably going to keep talking about this kid going, a young white kid, he almost made it, we tore him down because he didn't deserve it.
There are definitely
Whereas,
people
like,
that will
this
continue to
grown
have
black
that
guy, use his platform to push this narrative backing, terrorists, the Black Panthers, and all this shit. And the life ruinators, who are disingenuous as shit, I don't care on any end, disingenuous as shit, don't care about the complex between the two. Only thing I hear about Colin Kaepernick is angry rednecks saying the opposite about kneeling for the flag. They go, I stand for my flag. That's what I hear.
Oh,
that's what I still hear.
I was telling you before we got on, my dad was up for a while, and he moved to the South, and he just turned into a Southern person. But like, we had that conversation again when he was up here about the kneeling for the flag, and I was just like, why do you think? What's the problem? It's disrespectful to the military. Why is it disrespectful to the military? The flag is a representative of our country. It doesn't specifically represent the armed forces, the military
at all.
So I don't know how you make the jump from disrespecting the flag. Even if you want to consider it disrespectful to the flag, how is that the same as disrespecting the military? It's not even remotely.
Well, that's why I call
doesn't make
life
sense.
ruinators disingenuous, because that was disingenuous. They promoted it. They propagandized it to be about disrespecting the military because they made them synonymous. Because originally it was for police brutality. The military and the police are not the same.
Well, look, it's
no matter how much the police want to be like the military.
If you just look at it for what it is, it's okay. The flag represents our country, the United States. He's kneeling for the flag as a sign of, hey, there's something wrong with our country right now and it needs to be fixed. Period. That's all it means. Yeah. Like, just looking at it from an outsider's perspective, an alien could come down and look at that and figure out what it meant. And then for people to be like, well, he disrespects the military. Why? What does the flag have to do with the military? Our country and the military are not the same. The flag represents you, right? You got flying outside your house. Yep. Are you in the military? No, you're not in the military. That's not what it means. It's
What's
just,
more disrespectful to the military is taking those little green Army Men toys, like the dollar store Army Men toys, and sticking them up your ass.
Oh,
that's more disrespectful than kneeling for the fucking flag.
You know why it came up? I just remember why it came up. My dad was wearing one of those shirts. He was wearing one of those. I stand for the flag. I kneel for the cross.
That's what I'm saying. That's what you hear from him, because that's what life ruinators do. That's why I don't like opportunists.
The problem, any type. Now you're also conflating religion with patriotism and love of country as well, which is
all the time.
It's just another whole problem. Not you know.
I will tune out any church thing that they're at church and they mention politics at all. Well, why do they tune out most church stuff? But
why does everybody, or not everybody, but why do we always hear that this country is founded on, Christian values and stuff? When, like, remember when Kennedy ran and it was like a big deal? Is that what it is?
That's why.
I don't know.
Because the Pilgrims were the Puritans, and they apparently
they were Puritans. They weren't Roman Catholics.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They weren't religious. They were moral psychopaths, essentially.
Yeah.
They pretty much wanted people to be a certain way, and Europe was just like, no, we're not to do that. Get the fuck out of here. Go be crazy over there.
Can't do
that's
that.
That's what they did. We were crazy over here. The fucking the Scarlet Letter bullshit, the Salem, all that, the witch burnings.
Yeah,
they were crazy there. Don't get me wrong, but we were a type of crazy over here that they couldn't stand.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. I'm gonna regret. I mean, I'm going to. I regret doing it, but I couldn't sleep a couple nights ago, and I was just laying there, and I had listened to every podcast I had, and I went, Let me see who Joe Rogan's had on lately. I haven't listened to Joe Rogan in years.
Oh no.
Well, because
I avoid that podcast.
Well, once he started with the COVID stuff, I was like, I don't want to listen to this anymore. Not because I agreed with him or disagreed with him. I was just like, this isn't. I don't feel like listening to this. I just wanted to hear
with the Area 51 thing. To be
well,
honest,
that was. That was not
was
even
done
that
with
long
them.
before that, was it? I listened to those ones too, where he was talking to the guy that worked, claimed he worked in Area 51.
Yeah, that piece of shit liar. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a pimp, right? He's a
I
pimp.
don't. I didn't
That
know
is what he is. He's a rocket. He's a rocket enthusiast and a pimp. That's what he is. He used to run a brothel where people would go in one side and then leave the other, so people could
Really?
see. Like he is a piece of garbage who just
I
like
didn't
just
know
look
that.
into him. Yeah, just look at
All
him.
right, I'll
He
look-
looks like a nerd.
I'm gonna
and he
look into
fits
him later.
the bill, but he's ridiculous. Him and his second wife were pimps. Well, she was a madam, but
I always struggled with Joe Rogan just because it's like, okay, well, you've got this huge platform and you have to be responsible for it. But then I'm at the same time like, but he does, it's his platform, right? Like, I guess he should have the ability to
it's
bring ideas that
Spotify's
are interesting to him.
not
That's
his
true.
platform.
That's
It's
true. You're right.
Spotify's.
That's a big difference. Once he sold to
It
Spotify, that
was
made
his
a big
platform
difference.
before they bought him.
You are
'Cause
very
he's
right.
changed his tune real quick after they bought him.
I didn't think of it that way. You're right. Okay. But anyway, so I'm looking through and I'm just trying to find somebody to listen to, a guest list to, and there's this guy, Matt Walsh. Have you heard of this guy?
I'm sorry, who?
Matt Walsh.
I know that name.
So he apparently made a documentary called What is a Woman, where he uses this gotcha phrase with all of these different people in the trans community to ask them what a woman is, and it's his gotcha phrase, like, ha ha ha, you can't answer
Yeah,
my question, so you're full of
I know what
shit.
you're talking about.
Well, so I looked at it and I go, okay, so this is somebody on the other side of trans argument. I had just watched John Oliver and Jon Stewart's episodes dealing with trans issues, and when you mentioned trans stuff before, I was like, okay, this is a good segue. And I thought, when my dad was here a couple of days ago, he was giving me shit. He was like, well, what kind of news do you listen to? And I said, honestly, I don't watch the news on TV. I try to avoid any mainstream news outlets as much as I can. I do read the Washington Post, which I understand is left-leaning. He was like, well, you don't expose yourself to other sides of the story. You just read the Washington Post. I was like, I don't know if that's
I doubt
100%.
he does.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He goes, well, I said,
You don't
What-
listen
what,
to
you watch-
my side.
I was like, you watch Fox News, dude. I was like, you watch Fox News? And he's like, I only watch it a couple hours a day. And I was like, a couple hours a day is a lot.
enough.
That's enough. I was like, it doesn't matter. What do you think that's, I don't know. Anyway, so I was
They
like,
actively
okay,
lobby, but yeah, go on.
let me listen to someone else's stance on the trans issue so I can hear both sides and feel good about the fact that I feel the way I feel about these things, right? Because I've listened to both sides. So I started listening to it, and the guy's a fucking piece of shit. I mean, he's just
absolute piece of shit.
it was
I think I
it was
remember
one of
hearing
those
about him.
podcasts where you're listening to it and the whole time, like, you hear somebody make a point and you're just like, wait, but I have a question, and you really badly wish you could just interject and be like, but what about this? Like, okay,
Because
you made
if
your
he
point,
speaks
but
fast enough and far enough, he won't ever have to answer a question like that.
yeah, well, it pissed me off because Joe Rogan, who is like, talks about how he's good at, he questions things and he's just a logical thinker and he just takes the conversation where it needs to be taken. He wasn't asking some very obvious questions that came to mind when this guy was making a point. Like, he'd make a
Joe
point.
Rogan doesn't. He doesn't. He just
Well,
gets
that's what
high
drove
and
me
just
nuts.
like nods to
But
them.
I'm just like, well, because Joe Rogan is definitely on this guy's side as far as he doesn't think it's a good idea to be doing puberty blockers and transitional surgeries and stuff on younger people, which, like,
That's something I'm on the fence about.
I'm on the fence about it too, which is why I wanted to listen to this. Like, okay, I don't know, like, as far as adults go, cool, you can do whatever you want. I'm happy to help. But, like,
Just with children.
they started getting into, like, not making fun of, but, like, kind of mocking the idea of pronouns and stuff like that. And, like, this guy's whole question that he made this documentary on was asking people, what is a woman? And he's, I didn't watch this documentary. I actually downloaded it, and then after I was done with the episode, I fucking deleted it. I was like, fuck this, I'm not listening to this motherfucker. But his whole question was like, oh, they can't answer it because, they don't want to because they're afraid of the answer. And I guess I get it. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure he edited shit in the documentary to make it,
Yeah, well, of course.
skew. But I guess I get what he's trying to do. Because, okay, if I try to define what a woman is, I guess by the dictionary definition, it's a female human, right?
Female is
And
a bad word to use now, apparently.
no, I know, but I mean, by the dictionary, like I looked it up.
I
That's the
think we talked
definition.
about that.
We did.
No,
And the
I know.
definition of female is, has the female sex organs. So I guess by the
Yes.
dictionary definition, so he's got this gotcha question, but like, I don't want to get into, like, I don't want to come off as anything negative when it comes to trans issues. But I guess, like,
Unfortunately, you can't help it regardless.
No, I guess you're right. And I'm trying
It
to, like,
sucks.
really
It really sucks.
work my way through this. So I guess his whole point is like, well, if a trans woman wants to be a woman, well, she's not actually a woman because by definition it's a human female, and you're not a human female. And it's like, okay, but you're using it as a definition, and they're using it as a label, right?
Yes.
It's two different things.
That's exactly the issue. They're arguing. They're using the same language while arguing completely different.
Right. So this motherfucker's just going to people and like trying to gotcha with this. Well, and to his, I guess to his point, I guess it's troublesome that people can't just have that what am I trying to say? You can't just be like, okay, look, by the dictionary definition, a woman is this, but we can use it as a label for people in other ways. So I guess that's where his gotcha is. Like nobody wanted to just be like, well, I guess by the definition it's this, but like you made a whole documentary off of that, and you're not.
For his point, I can imagine it making him uncomfortable if somebody told him, "Yeah, that's good. Suck my girl dick." Like I can understand where that would make him uncomfortable to hear something like that.
That make me uncomfortable.
That's not your problem.
But I mean, if a guy said that to me and said, "Suck my guy dick," I'd be uncomfortable, But
that's what I'm saying. Like, that doesn't involve you. So what does it fucking matter?
Right.
Now,
so
my thing is,
anyway.
To agree with the situation that's really difficult is a very difficult situation. One's going, well, you know what? Like my trans friend who is very insightful, very understanding when we have disagreements back and forth. When talking about, those issues, first of all, she's young before she did her transition, is doing her transition. She's discovering herself and has been doing it since I've known her. And so at the age she is, I'm perfectly fine. Young, early 20s. Like if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do at that
Sure.
point.
I mean, you're an adult. Make your own decisions.
Okay with kid. Like I'm watching my kids grow like in 1 week, like sprout up.
Sure.
And they don't understand. They don't even. My daughter can't decide what she wants to eat, which I think is a girl thing. But anyway, can't decide what she wants to eat. But then goes, well, I never liked that. Well, yeah, you did. You liked it last week. Well, I mean, I never liked it before, but I never said anything, so I like it. I don't like it now. Like,
Yeah.
She can't decide shit like that. I don't think she's capable of deciding her gender. And when I hear a trans person personally, and I've said this to my trans friend, when I hear them say, well, I've always known I was this way. I've always known I was gay. I was always known I was this. In high school, I didn't know what gender or like sexual orientation I necessarily was, because I didn't even understand what my real personality was.
Well, I mean, before high school, think about when you were a very young adolescent.
Yeah, I didn't care about that shit.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't even care about
that shit.
If
I wanted to play jump rope, I played jump rope. I had my girlfriends who I played Barbies with. The difference was that my parents didn't. They did, but they didn't. They were the type that didn't want to attack it, so they put a blind eye. So when they saw me playing with Barbies, my dad was uncomfortable, but never said anything, which I guess worked in my benefit. But if you have a supportive family, despite what you think your gender is at that time growing up, you would do fine. The problem is, I think a lot of these people who are in the trans community, and I could be corrected on it or not because I'm not living their experiences, never got proper support during the time in which they were developing, and instead they married themselves to the idea that made them feel most comfortable.
Yeah, I can
not
see
saying that they would be straight, not saying they would have been anything else. Maybe they would have been what they are now. But the thing is, the way human beings work is if we have no hope, we have no support, we don't have any kind of outlet, we marry ourselves to an idea to keep us going day by fucking day.
Sure.
That's
No, I
why
agree.
people hold on to hope all the time. That's why when you have a loved one who has cancer and you're there with them, you hold out hope that a fucking miracle will happen and save them. And it's so difficult to deal with the idea of them giving up or dealing with the idea of giving up. That is how people are. That is how we function. That is how we survive.
Absolutely, I
So
agree.
in that, I feel a lot of it is traumatic based, and they married themselves to that idea because the recent trans friend I have is very different than the friends that I've had years ago that have transitioned, and they're the most obnoxious, self-important people I've ever met in my fucking life since their transition.
Yeah, I
And
mean, that's
this
going to
isn't an
happen.
indictment on trans people. This is also those fucking people that are pushing back against them. Fuck them. They want to feel important, and a lot of them are disingenuine opportunists.
Well, that's this
That
guy
is trying to make a stake.
to a T. This is this
To
guy
a
to a T.
fucking T. I know exactly who he is, and I heard one thing about him. I was just like, he's a piece of shit.
Well,
and was done.
Well, so I mean, they both had a conversation with a number of things where it's just like that doesn't make sense. But what about this? I had a million questions the whole way through, and they were like, well, the big problem is that all the main medical associations are on board with this gender affirming care, and it's just because they want to make money, because there's lots of money to be made in transition surgeries and hormone treatments. And I was like, all of them, everybody, every single one of them's on board. And that's why
Can we focus on the pharmaceutical companies as opposed to just the medical? Because
I know I was like, every single one of them, all the doctors, all the researchers, all the pharmacists, everybody got together and was like, yeah, we can make money. But anyway, like, they made a bunch of dumb points, but the whole way through, I'm like, okay, fine, that's not making sense to me, but okay, I kept listening. And then, also, Joe Rogan admitted, he said, like, I know, there are trans people who are just born and they feel that they're in the wrong body. And I'm like, okay, well, if you can acknowledge that, then how can you throw away everything else? Like, if you're acknowledging there are people that will help, you can't just throw everything else away.
It's very weird because there's a rift in the trans community about people with body dysmorphic tendencies. Like, there's like, I guess they call them the old trans that believe in body dysmorphia and the new trans that don't.
Okay.
And so with Joe Rogan, he's more so on the side of like what that part is. And there's a big rift there's no, from what I know so far, because I don't live in it, so I don't look it up all the time, is that they have not reached a consensus with how body dysmorphia plays a part in the transgender experience.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense.
So the being born in the wrong body was what we believed for a long period of time. We people who know anything about it, or people in general, knew a lot about it. But at that point, it's so muddled because there's too many talking heads that it's hard to keep up with, especially if you're not part of that community.
I think overall it's just hard to just make a blanket statement anyway, right? Don't you really have to look at things on a case by case basis? And even with kids, like I hesitate to just go, yeah, it's bad, or yeah, it's good, blanket. I feel like it's got to be case by case. You really have to be able to look at it on an individual basis and say,
difficult to do.
Right, it's incredibly difficult.
Work that way.
And I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So like, I'd rather leave that to them.
You're a guy with an opinion.
I'm a guy with an opinion. And kids, yeah. So anyway, but so I don't want to even give this guy too much more time. But then I just want to talk about it. It cracked me up because the guy mentioned that he has a book about like maintaining the American cornerstones of culture or something like that are life, gender, or sex or something like that, whatever word label he uses for that argument, and marriage. And Joe Rogan was like, well, wait, what's wrong with marriage? And then the guy started getting into how gay marriage is not a good thing. And Joe Rogan just lit him up for like an hour. He was just like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't, which is great. But I'm like, how?
He should have questioned his other shit that he didn't know about.
That's what I was trying to say. Like, why can't you apply that same argument or same thought process to the previous issue? Like, I don't understand how you can't understand that you can think the same way about both. He's like, well, some people are just born gay. Like, I have friends that are just gay. They just are, dude. They're just born that way. And the guy was like, well, marriage is about making kids, and that's the whole point of a marriage.
Then why is government in marriage?
Well, and Joe was like, no, dude, it's just like a legal bond between two people. It doesn't have anything to do with having kids.
To have fucking kids. Fucking is for having kids.
I know. I'm thinking in my head, this guy's going to get really mad when he finds out about all these animals procreating without being married.
Yeah, right?
So the conversation just evolved because the guy immediately, it was just like, oh, this guy's just a bigoted piece of shit, so I shouldn't listen to anything
because
he has
he just
to say.
doesn't have any. You know what? I don't even care to label a lot of these people outside of just being an asshole. Like,
No, this guy's a bigot.
Yeah,
he
no,
just
like
is.
I don't even think they're a bigot. I just think that they make money off of the bigoted crowd, and that's
He probably
who they're
does
gonna
that
kowtow
too.
to.
But it seemed to me that the guy really,
Like, he
is
actually
just
believes
at
in
his
what he's
core.
saying, because from
Yeah.
the clips I saw, he doesn't seem, from what I remember anyway, he
Well,
doesn't seem like he just gives a shit about what he's saying. He just
destroyed himself after that because it was just like, well, everything you said prior to this, even the stuff that I could try to understand,
it was
your point,
undermined.
It was undermined by this. Oh, and also at one point he said that millions of kids were on puberty blockers, and then Joe Rogan's assistant looked it up, or someone was like, oh, it says here there were like 4,900 in the country last year, and he was like, oh, well, I mean, and I was like, oh, so you just pulled something out of your ass to make your point. So
that's again what I just said.
So I went back and was just like, okay, so everything else you said you could have just pulled out of your ass to make your point too.
And again,
it was bad.
Usually people who are super religious do that, because I'm sorry, at least in Christianity is a series of ass pulls, and then you have to pull logic out of writings that don't make sense.
It's a good way to put it.
And so you're practicing your whole life doing that. You apply that type of thought process to everything else.
Yeah. I mean, I was glad that Rogan lit him up on that.
I'm glad that Rogan did something that old Rogan used to do.
Really made him look like a fucking idiot on that. But it was just like, dude, you could have done that across the board. I mean, like, you could have started that with those same questions. Like, and I'm not trying to conflate the two, like gender and sexuality, obviously not. But as far as the arguments go, like some of the stuff he was saying or questions he had about the marriage argument with this guy, I was like, you could have had those same points come up in the trans argument you were having with him, or questions.
It's about keeping that same energy. It's really about keeping that same energy.
So it's just
as a host, as
strong.
Top tier as he is, he should, even people he agrees with, he should research enough to be able to go, okay, I want to see what happens if I push back.
Right.
Because that pushes your own cognitive dissonance.
I felt like he used to do that once in a while when I used to listen to him.
He did before he was part of Spotify.
So it was really annoying that he just kind of like he was just listening to this guy say dumb shit and not going out, well.
Okay. Perfect example is when you watch him, like, before Ronda Rousey, when he used to, like, talk about UFC stuff, and he would, like, criticize and, like, talk about a player. But then when Ronda Rousey came out, he has this bad habit. Like, once he gets, like, those big starry eyes for something, a topic or a person, he can't question it. He just can't see himself, which is, you know what? Fine.
Which, I mean, it's
That's
human.
something I don't like about what he does, but I recognize when he does it. Because I do like when Joe Rogan tears into people. When he tore into Mencia, that was fucking brilliant. When he
that's good stuff.
That was just like, because Mencia fucking deserved it.
Right.
But it wasn't like he was neutral on that.
All right, so the next thing I wanted to quickly touch on. Did you see this story about this? This was just like the last day or two. This teacher in Arizona that got fired because she had an OnlyFans page.
I heard vaguely about it.
Really weird.
Like, saw the headline.
Yeah, essentially
it's not like she's fucking one of the students.
No, but it's weird. So
no.
No, it's not. There's not really an no to it. It's just the whole scenario is just such a weird scenario. She's a teacher in Arizona. She says, she was not able to make ends meet. I watched her little video.
Normally can't.
Well, she says, I guess Arizona's the lowest paid teacher salary in the country, which I would be surprised about. But they were having trouble making ends meet, so her and her husband started an OnlyFans page. Well, really her, but her husband does videos with her, and. She kept saying her anonymous name because she made and it's not an anonymous name. She had a pseudonym. I was like, that's not anonymous. It's not anonymous. It's just a pseudonym.
And she showed her face, I'm assuming. Which
she
is
did.
How she got in trouble.
Her face was in all the videos.
Fucking OnlyFans.
I don't know. She said she blocked Arizona, and she lives in Arizona. She had blocked users from Arizona. I guess it would just be a geo block. I mean, it would just, I guess in the settings, she could probably say like...
I mean, I get the mechanics of it. I just don't know. One, I don't know if OnlyFans has a ability to do that, and two, how many people in a state alone, or maybe a county, would just like not have a VPN or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even close to surefire, to do it.
Yeah,
But
and
I don't know. I guess the story was somebody brought it up at school. They told her, hey, you can resign, and we're not going to bring this up at the school board, and it won't go public. So she resigned. Then her husband,
it went public.
Well, I guess her husband was an at-will employee, so they just fired him straight up because they were allowed to. And then, like a couple days later, her socials for her pseudonym, not her anonymous name, started getting follows from teachers and parents and other students. And she's like,
the school board arrested her. The school board fired her just so they could fap to her.
So then,
I mean, we can't pay you for working, but we'll pay you for a subscription.
So I guess, in fairness, I guess she's leaning into it because she's like, well, I got to make money. My kids got to eat, so I'm just going to keep doing this. Which she's getting all this publicity now, right? So that was my sense. I'm like, oh, that's really fucked up. I get it. Like, I guess if my kid's teacher was doing internet porn, it would be kind of a strange thing for me too. But I wouldn't feel like she should lose her job or anything.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, does that shit go to the kids?
No, of course not.
Then what the fuck does it matter? I don't care if my teacher's a dominatrix.
Here's the problem, though. They shot a video in her classroom.
Before or after the firing?
Well, before. So
no,
I mean,
I know.
It's like, so I'm watching. I'm reading it. I'm like, oh yeah.
I'm about to say you're watching. You subscribed?
No, I didn't subscribe. So I'm reading the article and I'm like, I feel bad for him. I'm like, oh, this sucks. That really sucks. It's too bad. Bad enough this poor woman had to start sex work. Which, if you want to do it, totally cool. I have no problem with that. I don't want him to say it like that, but it seems like she felt she had to do it.
She had to do the extra.
I don't think it's.
That's like, I feel so bad this person has to get a second job in order to just live. Right.
Yeah, I don't feel somebody should have to feel forced into a second job or sex work because they need to do it to live. If you want to do it, cool, that's awesome. But so I'm reading, I'm just like, oh, this sucks. And then it's like, oh, she made a video in the classroom. I'm like, yeah, that was a dumb move.
That makes sense.
That was a stupid move.
And that's another thing with internet too, being a YouTube fucking consumer myself, is that people feel like they have to just get bigger and badder and bigger. Like, I hope she took the consequence with grace, because fine, I felt for her until you told me that.
Yeah, that's the way I felt.
That's
like, yeah, that was a dumb thing to do. Like, at this point, you kind of deserve to lose your job because you did something really stupid. Like, I don't care that my teacher's
that could
fucking
affect the kids. That could affect the kids.
Right.
What if she squirts everywhere and little Susie sits on it and gets whatever built up? Like, that's a problem.
Well, I'm thinking in my head, like, I don't care.
What if my daughter have a yeast infection?
If my daughter's teacher has, ew, it's so gross.
It's so gross.
I don't mind if my daughter's teacher is shooting internet porn on the side. It's like, I'd be like, okay, it's maybe it makes me feel a little uncomfortable, but that's me. It's not, it's not
that's not a hurt.
That's just my
that's
weirdness. It's a weird thing. But if she's fucking on the desk where my daughter is sitting each day, now I'm a little bit like, I don't know if that's okay.
Just like fucking imagine, like, your kid brings you the test. It's like, yay, I got an A, and you're like, I'm going to put this on the fridge, and all of a sudden one day,
it smells like semen.
Why in the hell? Why does my kitchen smell like semen? What the hell's going on? It's just that magical little.
So I watched her video. She did 2 videos, like, basically. No, not the sex videos. I watched her apology videos.
Oh, you just walking yourself into that. I didn't have to make a joke.
She does seem to be taking with grace. Like, yeah, I know I did something dumb. I got, it is what it is. But, like, I don't want, people are harassing me now. I don't want that to stop, in my area. Which I get.
Fuck those fucking people.
Well, at that point, it's like,
those are the real psychos on the internet.
What's she gonna do?
She got her punishment. What else do you need to do?
But there's nothing she can do about that. These people are gonna harass her. It's like fucking ridiculous.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's the internet. Those are the real psychos of the internet.
So I just found it to be an interesting story, and
again, at least she wasn't fucking a student. That is
because like my friend, one of my buddies. I've told you about my best friend? Have I told you about my best friends on the podcast before? I think I have. My history of best friends. Well, okay, so
I know about the one where you had a best friend that you realized as an adult that they were abusive to you.
Okay, well that was when I was a kid. No, my adult best friends have been. My first best friend was I stopped. We kind of lost. I don't want to get into the stories, but he was later arrested for trying to
you missed
solicit.
one over the vaccine stuff. Like you had an argument with over vaccine
Oh yeah,
stuff.
another friend. That was different. No, my three, like, when I through my adulthood phases, I had three, like, kind of best friends. My first one was arrested for trying to solicit what he thought was a 14-year-old online for sex, but it ended up being a police officer.
Gross.
Yep, gross. My second one, I was friends with him and his wife. His wife came home and he was in bed with another woman in their house. I'm still friends with his wife. She's awesome. Not friends with him anymore, which isn't a big deal. Okay, fine, he cheated on her. But then he married this girl and was later arrested for domestic violence.
That's a good reason to not be his friend anymore.
Yeah,
like,
against
cheating
his
thing
wife.
is between you and your spouse.
Right. So we kind of lost touch, and then because, again, I was kind of in the middle of the two of them. I was friends with both, and I was kind of took her side. Like, okay, you cheated on her, and she's cool, and I like her, so I guess I'm taking her side on this. But anyway, and then he also, I don't know if this is true, but I ran into an old boss we shared a while ago, and he said that my friend apparently stole like 50 grand from the store he was working at and like fled to California. I don't know if that's true, but anyway. And then my third friend,
am I going to become a psycho now?
I don't know, maybe. So my third friend, he became a teacher, and he was arrested for having sex with a student in the classroom, male with a young girl. So I don't have a good track record with friends. So I don't know. I think you're fine.
Yeah, we need to end this. I don't think
it's not a curse. There's no
I think
superstition.
before my brain fucking melts and I become some kind of weird fucking Kanye-esque weirdo.
So I don't know. So yeah, different. She wasn't having sex with students. She was having sex with her husband in her classroom.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's just so many times I hear that shit in the news, like, you know.
Yeah, it's
hot female teacher has an affair, quote unquote, with young 12-year-old student. Like, it's not an affair if he's 12. It is rape.
Rape, yeah. Well, I mean, we could get into that, but it's been talked about before, the difference between, you know, when it's an older woman and a younger boy or man, boy, yeah, and an older man and a young girl. There's, you know, obviously it's treated differently when it shouldn't be. But I don't know. I mean, I guess we should.
We're not touching the topic today.
No, I don't want to touch that
topic. This is the topic today.
Man, I still have stuff on my list to talk about that I wanted to.
This is just catch up. This is a catch up episode.
I wanted your take on this because our kids go to the same school district. My neighbor talks I see him at the bus stop every morning. Saw him last week, and he goes, "Yeah, I got called to the principal's office." And I was like, "Oh, what happened?" So I guess his son was playing cops and robbers on the playground and was doing finger guns, you know, like bang bang with their finger. And they got called into the principal's office over this, and I didn't know how to feel about it because at one side I was like, "What?" And on the other side I'm like, I don't know. Am I being too, I don't know, lenient with this? Like, what's the big deal? Or is it a big deal?
No, I agree with you with your feeling on it personally. Okay, so I get that somebody said, well, you know, they could perceive it as a threat. First of all, the only people who do that weird finger gun threat thing, like as an actual threat, are unhinged adults and teenagers. Those are the only ones that do that. Little kids
these are
do not go, I'm going to take a Glock and shoot you. They just don't do that. They pretend to be Red Hood. They pretend to be John Wick. They pretend to be all these fucking superheroes we have with guns.
Well, and
they're using a Star Wars blaster. Since we can't pick up sticks and do it, or we can't bite a sandwich and it just so happens to look like it.
Right. No, that's a good point.
Like, we just can't do that shit.
So his father, my neighbor, is a police officer, and that's their they're very,
and we like to
police culture.
Police,
so
who are known to have guns.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's ingrained. So it's obviously ingrained in his kid there because he's in the police culture at home, and you know I don't want to get into the political side of it, but you know he's a policeman, so he's big on police culture, and his kid's gonna kind of get that from him too, and that's just. You know, he was a police officer for Halloween, I think, this year or last year. No, he's a ninja this year. He was a police officer last year, like a SWAT officer and everything. So it's just part of...
But SWAT officer, even worse.
Well,
A police officer would be fine.
no, I don't want to get. I don't want to get into that shit because we've already had
No,
enough
I know,
political
I know.
conversation today. But the core of it is like the kid running around on the playground doing finger guns, playing cops with his
Yeah,
friends.
that's bullshit.
I don't. Maybe there's more to the story. I don't know. Maybe there was other stuff that went on.
Well,
but
okay,
at his
if
face, I was just
I
like,
will-
"Is that a big deal? Like, do we need to
just
call the
hearing
parents
about
in?"
it, hearing it from face value from your secondhand account,
Sure.
or your third hand account,
Third hand, yeah.
would be, I think, is bullshit. That they even had to, whoever the supervisor was should have asked if there was a problem to the children. If the children go no, because
They
children
don't do that,
have
though.
diarrhea of the mouth, and they were just playing, proceed.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe
Like,
there may
I
have been a
just-
kid that felt threatened or said something. If it was just the kids just playing on the playground with each other, like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Who
Again,
fucking cares?
My son is into Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, I
Star
know.
Wars has fantasy shit, but guess what? They also have. If he's playing Han Solo, he's gonna use a blaster.
Well, I mean, even aside from the blaster, like your kids have come over and our kids have played Star Wars and they're like using things as lightsabers, you know,
Yeah,
like
but
weaponry
we
in
don't
general.
pull kids in the thing. Now I know we don't have a problem with people going to schools with swords, but swords and knives are a fucking thing.
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
I'm sorry.
is it much
In
different?
inner cities, stabbings are a big fucking problem.
And
In
Canada,
Europe, stabbings are a big fucking problem.
Canada, there was that stabbing spree not that long ago. I don't know.
And so we don't, when kids pretend to have swords and sharp like knives, like pretending to,
Right.
we don't say shit. Teachers don't say shit.
Shouldn't.
And I get it, you're scared. Maybe we shouldn't, I'm not going to politicize it again, so I'm going to pull back from that one. But the problem is probably bigger than school level. If people are so scared that a little child playing
Yeah.
with their friend using finger guns becomes a threat.
No, we're talking about a 7-year-old again. It's not even a 5th grader. We're talking about
Yeah.
a 7-year-old. Anyway,
Like,
speaking of, I was talking about Halloween. Do you guys have a good Halloween? We didn't really connect on Halloween.
Halloween is generally my favorite holiday, but it seems like
Did you do the doll face makeup on your daughter?
I did. My daughter, she had freckles and like puppet mouth. People thought she was a clown because she wanted more makeup on her face.
You have to send me. Do you have a
Cracks and
picture?
Stuff all over.
You're gonna have to send me
I
a
do.
picture. Yeah, I want to see.
All right.
Yeah, my
son
kids
was Darth Vader.
That's
He wanted.
oh, you mentioned yeah.
And-
I thought he was
mind
gonna
you,
be
he's
Kylo
Darth
Ren.
Vader. He was. I couldn't find a Kylo Ren
Okay.
costume to save my fucking life.
Well,
And
you
I
he wanted to be
accidentally-
Kylo Ren, not no, he wanted to be Ben Solo, not Kylo Ren. That's
He
what
wanted to
it
be
was.
Ben Solo specifically.
Yeah,
and
right.
He was expecting me to straighten his fucking hair for that. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
no,
that
I'll
would've
get a
been fun.
wig. Couldn't get a wig for his child head. And he does have clothes that look like Ben Solo's, but I would have to rip it, and they're really nice clothes, and I don't want to rip them.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
So I said Kylo Ren. Couldn't find Kylo Ren, and even worse. So when he got his Darth Vader costume, because he was fine with it, he was actually super stoked for it. It had like it did the breathing thing. It had a hard face helmet, but he couldn't see out of it. So instead, I painted his face white and gave him like all the weird wrinkles and shit.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
he was just Darth Vader with an afro. Like the lava just never caught his hair, or it just turned it into an afro. It looked
No,
pretty
that's
cool.
awesome. No, I
To
like
be
it.
honest, like my son even stopped making facial expressions and just looked really serious and angry. Like he played the role,
That's awesome.
but that he went to a Halloween party like that, and he was like, "I don't want paint on my face anymore. It's getting all over the place." So
Right.
you know what? That's fine. So the second time he didn't, and he wore the mask for a while, and then he had like a felt one that he could see through, and a hard one that he could wear in pictures.
Oh, that's even better.
And he had a great time. My daughter was just so energetic; it was ridiculous, and I was still suffering a toothache.
Yeah,
The
that can't be fun.
entire Halloween. It was a month, an entire month of this tooth problem, which the root went straight into my sinuses, like it ended under my eye cavity.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
mean,
root went
going
from the
out,
tooth to under my eye cavity. It was
it
huge.
was cold. It was a little damp and rainy out. It was not a
We
pleasant night to be out in
walked,
pain. Yeah, we
like
did.
5 miles.
We did what we do every year, which is we just did our development. Like we did there's two
Okay.
cul-de-sacs and then the main street, and like it took us about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and the kids were like, "We're tired." My son was Stitch. It was
Okay.
just a random. I don't know why he likes Stitch, and then my daughter was Sarah Sanderson from Hocus Pocus, but the costume wasn't
man.
great. Yeah, but so like they had really nice adult costumes
But
online.
you're utilizing her blonde hair.
We did. So, but everybody thought she was a princess because it like the costume just looked like a
'cause it
princess
just-
outfit. It didn't look
Got
like
you.
so. But we
Seriously,
did like
you know what? Yeah,
we did like the dark makeup around her eyes and
the mole.
stuff and the mole and like she had her hair. We frizzed her hair, so it was all frizzy,
That's
long
r-
blonde hair.
I will definitely
She was
like to
happy.
see that.
Yeah.
She. I'm about to say if she had a good time, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, she
but
had a great time. I remember I used to love. Oh, I loved Halloween
We
when I
need
was
to
a
do
kid.
1 year Halloween together.
We do. Well, I asked my mom. So my mom used to make my costumes when I was a kid. She was fantastic, and
Mhm.
she said next year I'll make the kids costumes if they want me to make them, and if my wife agreed and was okay with that too.
My
So-
dad used to make my costumes.
Yeah, my
He
mom
made
made
dope as
great
fucking
costumes. Like she sewed everything. She was fantastic at it. She did these amazing costumes. I won a couple costume contests when I was a kid. I mean, I had
Ooh.
1 year I was Speedy Gonzalez, so that wasn't that wouldn't go over well now.
So I have a friend who did brown face. I know you were
For
a
this year,
No, you.
Oh no! I didn't do brown face. I had a
No, you
mask.
was-
I didn't do brown
Oh,
face.
okay,
She made a
fine,
mask.
fine.
She used to make costumes and she'd make felt masks that were amazing.
Okay.
So good.
Oh, okay. So I was
Uh,
imagining painted and with the fake.
No, she made. When I think about it, there were these
It-
felt masks with like foam in them, so they were really hot. It was a very hot
Oh
costume.
God.
She did Speedy Gonzalez.
of-
I was Tasmanian Devil 1 year, Darkwing Duck 1 year. She made these amazing costumes.
That's dope. Okay, you
She
just
made
said
me that
Darkwing
Darkwing hat.
me.
She
That's
made
so
me the
fucking
Darkwing
cool.
hat. And then
Oh.
the last costume I remember when I think I was like in high school, I might have been a junior. I don't even know if I should say this because it's going to be taken so poorly now. I was a terrorist 1 year. It was before 9/11. I was a terrorist, and I was like
I'm sorry.
I was like this. I did like the stereotypical
Oh, man.
movie terrorist costume. Like I had
Yeah.
like the robe and like a long beard, and I made dynamite with construction paper, and I rang people's doorbells and I went trick or bomb. It was terrible, so bad.
You know what? No, because nowadays, yes, I get it, but we are literally from the time that when
No, that's what I'm
9/11
saying.
fucking happened.
It was before 9/11.
9/11
At the
happened.
time, it was just a joke.
The way we dealt with it. If you remember, like the plethora of flash games that literally was like terrorist joke games. There were so many of them.
Yeah, there were a lot of
And
there
that's
were a lot
where-
of bad things that came up.
What was the puppet?
people-
The puppeteer that everybody fucking likes, Jeff Dunham.
Jeff Dunham. Yep.
One of his
Yeah, the-
biggest characters
That's true.
is a fucking terrorist.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Like a dead terrorist, the
like-
skeleton
like people
body.
who don't get like that type of humor in my opinion either don't care and it just makes them uncomfortable and they're just going to react
Right.
or love to ignore context.
Yeah.
If I don't find it funny, which I only find it funny because of how awkward it is, I don't find the joke itself funny. But I do find the awkwardness of the situation funny, especially in hindsight.
Yeah. No,
Seeing
that
your
makes sense.
adult self going, "Ooh, that was in bad taste."
Yeah, it was not
That's
a good.
funny to me.
At the time, it was funny, and now, I mean, I thought it was funny.
No, I wouldn't
I don't know
have-
if everybody.
I
did,
wouldn't have
but-
found it funny then. I don't find terrorist jokes necessarily funny. Like I find most things funny, but
Yeah.
I find that due to context, anything can be funny, but you have to be a mastercraft at what the joke you're making is. Because if
Sure.
you're not good at the joke, it will just be offensive.
I don't
it's
know if I was good
offensive
at the joke.
and funny,
I'd like to
if
think
it's
I was good
offensive
at
and funny, I can deal with it.
it. I'd like to think I was good at it at the time. I didn't know any
Um,
better. I was a kid.
But you mentioned winning contests, like do your mom making costumes. My dad. So I was doing a lot of thinking, and I said this in a podcast that no one else will ever hear. And I told the story to my best friend, and I love this story. So my dad used to make my costumes, and he made me Batman 1 year. And I mean like Michael Keaton Batman. He used to take, remember like the old, I think it was Pepsi, when it was, it had the red, white, and blue. It was the white ribbon with the red, white, and blue across it.
Yep.
And it had the little black top on the bottom. He found out that that's not part of the bottle, so he took it off and he made the body
Oh,
armor from
yeah.
Batman Returns out of the black part of that.
Why did they have
I
that
think-
black thing on the bottom?
I have
What's
no
the point of
I
that?
guess I don't know. I have no idea what that was.
It was just an extra piece of plastic.
It was never attached either.
Yeah. That's weird. I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep.
Anyway,
Most
go ahead.
people did. But yeah, he made the body armor from Batman Returns out of that. And
That's
he
awesome.
took like a bike helmet, he shaved out the plastic on the inside, and he created out of that and plaster the mask. Like I have an old picture. He made the gauntlets, he put sticks inside of the cape and then made the cape so when I opened it, it like turned rigid.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Like so
that takes talent
Batman
too.
Beyond made me super happy. My dad's he would just be at work since he worked on taking care of the developmentally disabled. So when he was done taking care of them, he wiped them, did whatever he had to do. They would go to sleep. He'd just sew and put this all together.
Yeah, that's
and he
but,
would like
but I
he
mean
would
just
make
the
guards for my sneakers.
the
He
mechanics
just
of
set me
that.
up. Oh yeah, he set it up. I had batarangs. I was set. So I went to this it was in a school. I can't vaguely remember it. It was in Holland Falls. There was this costume contest, and I remember it. I think this is why I'm a little off put by clowns now. There was a clown there, and he was preceding the whole thing, and it was we were going down and made it to the last two, and it was me as Batman, which I was scared because I was tiny, and then there was a boy dressed up as a woman. And like he had like I remember the dress. It was like this black dress with like red lace, huge breasts. But it was this little boy, just kind of like a 3-year-old boy.
Pause for a second. What? So this was a young. Oh, it was a 3-year-old.
Yeah,
it was a really little boy in drag. He had to have been
around
his costume.
Maybe 4. Yes.
Okay.
Had heels. Had the hair, everything.
This makes me think. This brings me to another point. So I saw somebody posting. I've seen a couple posts recently. People talking about these drag shows that are kid friendly and like, oh my god, like bitch, didn't you watch? My wife said, didn't you watch Mrs. Doubtfire when you were a kid?
Like, that's what I'm fucking saying.
Yeah. So
my thing is, they're more so scared by the push of the sexual narrative of it, because drag shows have an inherently sexual nature to it.
Okay,
but they can't articulate that there's a difference between that and just the showiness of it.
Right.
Like,
okay.
The
So
kids version
that's
is just
different. There's a difference between the two. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's a difference between. If you're doing a show with kids in drag and you're have overt sexual things going on, I don't care if you're in drag or if it was actual women or men or whatever.
Yeah,
that's a whole different issue. But like just men in drag around the kids is not. What do they think? It's going to turn their kid into a drag queen? Like I don't know.
Well, here's a perfect example that I will parallel.
I didn't mean to hijack.
You're not okay with that, but I'm sure the same type of motherfuckers are okay with their kid going to the family restaurant known as Hooters. We thought that shit was funny in Big Daddy.
Hooters. Yeah, I'm sure.
Because we're just helping kids practice to just becoming addicted to going to strip clubs.
Yeah,
because that's perfectly fucking fine.
We've talked about strip clubs before and how we don't understand them, and Hooters is another level. Like that's even like more. Why?
You know what? I genuinely like the food there. Or I did.
I haven't been to a Hooters.
That was the only
forever.
thing. I didn't give a shit about the scantily clad women. It was weird. It was awkward.
You just liked their food. You just like the hamburgers. I don't get my
dick hard and I eat. I don't like to eat and have my dick hard.
Me neither.
My brain doesn't work that way. There's too much blood going into too many places. But anyway, so there was me and the little girl boy. I can't, because it was a little boy. The joke was that it was a little boy. That I remember, at least as a kid. That's the way I put it together. Because I knew it was a little boy because I think I knew him.
I'm sure that little boy grew up to be so tormented. He was just terrified for the rest of his life and didn't know what was happening. I'm being facetious.
I hope that kid had a really good life. I don't remember the kid, but I remember the kid just kind of looking a little bewildered. But the costume was funny. It was just like over exaggerated. Like they gave the mother is the one who put it together and thought it was cute.
A 3-year-old with breasts is funny. Come on.
Yeah, he had ridiculously, like, for this tiny child, a ridiculously large breasts, a ridiculously large ass. The dress was crazy, and it wasn't sexualized. It just looked like a 40-year-old, not a 40, a 50-year-old woman from church. That's what the kid looked like.
Watch it, 40-year-old. Watch it.
Right? So
you say that, and then you go, "Oh wait, that's now."
It looked like a church lady. It looked like a church lady, like a stereotypical black church lady.
That's awesome.
And so
the
clown, and I'm going to mimic the clown because I can remember with his voice. Now, mind you, I'm standing next to this man, and I'm just like, I'm uncomfortable. But
was the clown like the MC?
Yeah, he was the MC.
Okay.
He was kind of dressed like a mime a little bit, with the suspenders and the black and white stripes, but he had like hairy arms and he was sweating under the grease paint because it was hot. It was a gym.
So
And
weird.
I'm just like,
So
and I
weird.
remember like looking at the hairs on his arm, like I'm so hyper analyzing this because
Yeah.
I'm scared,
Hey.
but I can't be scared because I'm Batman. So I have to like stay
So you're
like
telling
stoic,
yourself?
but I'm terrified, and I'm already scared of crowds. So like the guy comes up, he's like, "Now introducing our last two finalists, Batman." And I can't remember what he said for the little kid.
I love
And
the voice.
I'm just standing there and I'm just looking at him, and my dad goes, "Go on, little nigga," and he's like pushes me along.
Wait, did he
And
actually say that?
he just no, he didn't, but he
'Cause
likes
it's
it. That
funny.
he thinks it's funny that's how I present how he said it. My dad was a super soft.
I don't know
spoken
why I
guy.
find-
He was just like, unless he was yelling at me like specifically, he was usually very soft spoken. He was just like, "You got this. You can go on." That's how
Oh,
he
man.
really said it.
This
But
is
my brain
troublesome 'cause-
translated. He just cussed me out and just told me to go.
I have another tangent I want to go on now.
Oh,
Keep
okay.
going.
Oh, I'm almost done. I'm sorry.
No,
And
it's
then
not your story that's
so-
interfering. It's the fact
Oh.
that we've been recording for forever now. We haven't even started our topic, and I don't want
told
this
you,
episode
this
to
is
go
the
too
catch-up
long.
episode. We're not starting the topic. Fuck it.
Oh, you don't want to do the topic at all?
We haven't recorded for like 3 weeks.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna just completely not do a topic
This
this episode.
this is the equivalent in my mind. This has become the equivalent of our clip show.
Okay, all right, that's fair. I'm okay with that.
We did 10 episodes. Our 11th episode is a clip show because we fucking skipped out due to
Well, this is 10.
bad
This will be
timing
10.
and illness.
This will be episode 10, so
I
that
thought-
actually
I
works
thought-
out well.
Oh no, yeah, this is the actual episode 10.
So that actually is
'Cause
perfect. It's episode 10.
Episode 1 is our pilot.
It's our catch-up show,
Our-
episode 10.
Yeah, so I apologize for no actual topics, but what's more like our episodes than not actually reaching the topic at all?
Yeah, that's like quintessential us. That's perfect. All right. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, no, so yeah, I actually won, and it was like one of the only things I ever won in my entire life. And I don't remember what I fucking won. I think my dad has a trophy or something.
I remember what I
And I
won.
got a bunch of candy.
I won a
and-
gift card to the Orange Plaza
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
When it was alive.
when it was live. This was so long. It was the old mall in our area.
Caldors is still there.
Yeah, it was. Absolutely was. And I actually think I remember what I got with it. What the hell was the name of that game? It was this game with monsters in it. It was an NES game. I can't remember the name of it. It was this game where
Was it like
you
you
were
were
a
this
kid.
little kid that
and then you
like
turned into a
star
monster.
crosses and the monster? Yeah, I remember. God, now I'm Monster Party.
Yeah. Monster Party. That was it. That was the game.
Yeah,
That was the game I got with my gift
could
card.
not beat that game.
I couldn't either.
um,
Oh, I mean, I couldn't beat most NES games. They were never.
Yeah, true.
They were never
I
really.
beat Nightmare on Elm Street though. I was proud of myself. That game is hard.
I don't think I ever played that. I played the Friday the 13th game. And it was impossible.
Oh,
I
it's
just gave up
fucking
on that.
possible.
Anyway, sorry. Finish your
but-
story. Sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, I won the thing, and the memory that stuck with me was just this sweaty, hairy clown with the high-pitched voice, and it just reached uncanny valley for me. And so whenever I
This-
think of costume contests, that's what I think of.
Clowns
And
in
people
general
wonder
are just.
why clowns aren't scary. It's just like because they're uncanny valley.
They're weird. I had pictures. Actually, I don't think it was over my crib. I think it was over my brother's crib, were these weird,
Mhm.
creepy clown pictures, and that's why I don't like clowns because there were these creepy pictures in his room that scared me.
Yeah.
No, clowns are just fucking.
You know what? It's funny. I was watching a horror video talking about creepy clowns because it's, and their whole clown community is pissed off about clowns, and they're always like, you see them on the news going, clowns aren't like that, and this is that, and like, look, here's my thing, clown is a job.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
an entertainment job. It should never be a community. That's like me going,
Yeah, it's a
Hey,
different thing.
I work at Target. Target is my community.
It's funny.
I don't
Oh,
want to make a culture out of being a Target employee.
Speaking of communities, my daughter the other day asked me if I knew what a furry was.
No.
She did, and I was like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "Do you know what a furry is?" And I was like, "Do you know what a furry is?" And
Good answer.
she was like, "Oh, it's somebody who they like animals and they like to dress up as animals." I was like, "Don't talk about furries, okay?" I was like, I'll tell you when you're older.
Yeah, because
That was a test for me.
Yeah, well, no, that was because it's so bad when you bring that up because you can't disassociate the furry community with non-sexual shit. Like
No,
you
you
just
can't.
can't.
You can't. Well, I mean, I've said before, like I try to be I'm really open and honest with my daughter when she asks me things. I usually just answer her. And this was one where I was, you know what? We were at IHOP with my dad, and
Okay.
so I had the excuse at the time to be like, yeah, we're not going to talk about that right now. So I guess I kind of used that, but I don't think I would have answered or told her the truth anyway. It was just
In a really
it
fucked
really
up
pushed
way,
my
it's just
limit.
going. It's just going, honey. Furry is bestiality adjacent.
Then she'd ask me what that is.
And bestiality is exactly what you said, honey. Somebody like when a mommy or a daddy likes an animal a little too much.
A little too much. A little more than they're supposed to. It was such an
When a
awkward
pet
thing
becomes really part of the family.
just like
That's so
I need to pay
That's so
better
fucked.
attention to those YouTube videos she's watching. Where else would she have
and
heard it?
you know what's really fucked up? The first time I heard the word furry wasn't even on the internet.
Where was it?
It was from Rockadoodle.
I don't even know what that is. I don't think.
It was a Don Bluth film. About a
Oh,
little kid. He was on a
Don
farm, and it
Bluth.
was a cartoon like a cartoon rooster. He stopped. He was an Elvis impersonator.
Okay.
He stopped crowing, so the sun never came out. So these evil owls came and turned the little kid into a cat. And the first thing this little kid says, and it's so muffled the way he says it because his voice acting is really bad, because, "Oh my God, I'm a folly." And I was just like, I always thought he said, "I'm all furry." But I swear, it just, when you hear it, he says, "I'm a furry."
I don't know. You'd have to look and figure out the origins of the word. Line
Yeah.
up the time frame. Maybe that's where it
I
started.
don't want to go that far. I
Yeah, I
really
wouldn't
don't want to
wanna
go that far
either.
because it's going to lead into like the artist from Ren and Stimpy, and I'm just terrifying to me.
Yeah. Ugh.
And just, I don't
Did,
need
did I
that on
did-
my mind.
did I tell you I finished watching the Michael Che show?
You gave me some hints that you did
Oh yeah, I finished, dude.
over text.
So good. It was so good. So
So
many,
good.
so funny. But it was another one of those shows where, like, there are times where I'm like, am I allowed to think this is funny? You know?
Well,
It's hard
here's
for
the
me.
thing.
It's hard being a white guy.
For white guys, and I say this to my white guy friends, as long as you have that little twinge, you're good. You can laugh.
Okay.
That's how
All
I
right.
feel. If you have
That's
that little
fair.
twinge, that means you are self-aware.
That's
if you're
fair.
not self-aware, you are one step away from being that one guy. Everybody has him. He works a forklift. He's a white dude that chain smokes and drinks. That that says nigga all the time at home.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
he's
There's
just
these
one
out
step
there.
from just saying it on the street. He raps every Eminem lyric just because he can.
So, like,
like
perfect.
if you have those minimal traits, that's fine. But when you put them all together, it makes that guy.
Well, see, this is a perfect example. So the one episode, and I'm not even gonna say it out loud, where there's the werewolf spoof, right?
Oh, but I love the werecoon.
Yeah,
I
so
love the werecoon.
the call they do. I'm like, after I finished watching it, I so badly wanted to just walk around saying that, and I'm like, I can't.
Oh,
'Cause it's so funny.
Either hootie hoo or ooh ooh. It was one of those two.
It was no, I can't. I can't do it.
It's been a month since I've seen it, so I don't have it readily in my.
It was
like,
it was
mental
similar, but
bank.
but it's the actual
But yeah,
word.
it was a stereotypical.
That was the call.
Oh,
Was
it
the word?
cuckoo, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It was so funny though, and it was in my
Actually,
head the
no.
whole day.
As a white guy, you don't fully understand. It was not the word. He was not saying coon.
I couldn't tell what he was saying.
He was
What
going
was it?
cuckoo. That's
Oh, I
a
thought he was-
sound.
I thought he was saying the whole word.
That is literally a hood sound.
No, I know that, but I thought
But
he
it's
was
been
actually saying.
stereotypicalized. No, it's stereotypicalized. Into
It was in the
being
back
just a
of my
black
head.
Thing.
It was in the back of my head the whole day. I kept wanting to say it, and I was like,
Oh.
I can't say it. I can't say that.
No,
Can't
and
say that.
now I've never seen it from that perspective, but that's hilarious if that was.
But like, can you imagine if I was out
Like-
in public and it like just came to my head and I
you
just
would
said
fuck,
it really
You
loud?
would fuck yourself up. You
I
would
know.
fuck
That's what I mean. It's
yourself up.
dangerous. It's dangerous for me to
Like,
to to watch. It was so good though. The show was so good. It was so funny.
oh man, like I have I love that show so much. Like from the first episode I knew that I was going to love that show
Well,
cuz
as you told
Michael
me,
Che Oh, sorry, go on.
you had told me the second season was even better, and it was. The second season was even funnier than the first season. It was just so good. It was just, and it was
Like
just
the
like so
connecting story was perfect. It found its like groove from
perfect
the
job.
beginning and kept
Perfect
going.
job, meshing all the storylines, all the skits together. It was just really smartly written, very smartly intelligent. Like every line, I just felt like that's the perfect line, line for that scenario. I couldn't think of a funnier line.
If you were to suggest a skit from that show to somebody to introduce them to the show, what skit would you choose?
There were quite a few. I really liked the bank skit where the dude gets the Black Panthers to go with him to the bank because he says they're racist and won't give him a loan, and then his idea is
that is a really
giant
good
umbrella. It's so funny, and you hear somebody in the back go, "We're in Arizona." I was laughing so hard. That was great. The one with the dude that's the NASA astronaut. Yeah.
Like this is to our audience that we're suggesting this.
Yeah, the one with the dude that was the NASA astronaut getting interviewed by the kids was hilarious.
Oh, that guy is fucking hilarious. His delivery is amazing.
The one he did where he's the boss at the
is the episode. That is the skit I would suggest to people.
Also excellent.
I would suggest that skit to people.
That guy was great.
So just
in that
so we
skit
know,
too.
the boss episode is essentially he's disparaging mental health days, but
right.
he refuses to take a mental health day. That's as far as I'm going with that.
Fantastic skit.
Oh,
it was great.
Such a good skit.
But yeah, show is so good. But those, I guess 3, did I say? Those 3 were all fantastic. Like just top cream of the crop. Great.
If I had to choose 3, that one would definitely be my top one. The Num Num is another one I would suggest.
No.
Wayne Brady always sends it over
great.
when you let him just go all out from his like clean good.
Well, that wasn't even just a single skit. That was kind of throughout the whole episode.
It was a continuous.
Came back to it, yeah.
Well, that was the thing, and here's the thing: there's a lot of detail put into it because the character that talks to him at the end of the skit was in the beginning of the skit. If
I didn't even notice that.
He was
the one that says he was at the game.
Yes,
at the end.
He's there.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
He's in the beginning.
That's smart.
So they did that really well. And if I had. And this was an in-between skit, but it's another one I would put, was when he tricked all his ex-girlfriends to come,
over
and fix him.
Yeah, that was great.
I was just like, that is so good.
It was really good.
That is a good skit. And
Same
that shows
thing.
a lot of self-awareness on Michael Che's point.
And that was
also... they were tearing into him.
Yeah, that was also throughout the episode. It was just multiple touch points throughout the episode. So it wasn't even just one skit. It was the whole episode kind of laid that out. It was so funny.
But I knew, because HBO Max has become my favorite streaming service.
Wait until they merge with Discovery. And you get all the 90-day stuff too.
Fuck it all up. It'll all get fucked up. Oh, fuck you! It'll remind me of that.
I don't even want to get started on that.
But it is so far right now my favorite streaming service, even though it's not like user-friendly at all. I love the stuff I get at, but I grew up on HBO, so I guess the kind of stuff that they put out is what I would like normally.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. There's HBO's got a lot of good stuff. I mean, just like the Harley Quinn series is great. I love John Oliver's show. I watch that every week. There's a lot of really good stuff on HBO. There's a lot of stuff that I want to watch that I haven't even gotten to yet.
Right. So what I like, the way I feel about it, although Netflix, even though it is kind of shitty right now, I love Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities.
I was just gonna bring that up. It's on my list. I haven't watched it yet. Is it good?
It is. I think I'm at one more episode. The one I suggest 2 episodes to you because you don't have to watch them linearly.
Okay.
Because it pretty much, as a mutual friend of ours put it, it's Goosebumps for adults.
Oh, that's perfect.
And it really is.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
But one of them is oh my god,
I'm gonna end up watching all I think
Model.
6 anyway.
Yeah, Pickman's Model, which is one I would suggest. That's probably the best Lovecraft adaptation I've seen in a long time.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And
I'll make that the first one I watch.
The Viewing is hands down my favorite.
Okay.
And it's really because it's very similar to it's directed by Panos Cosmatos, I think that's how you say it, or Panos Cosmatos or whatever. He directed Mandy. So
Okay.
it has that same visual flair, and it's very minimal. And I tend to like very minimal things.
Well, I mean, those horror anthology series in general are just a good thing to do because they're always good.
Yeah.
Like they're very rarely not good. You know,
There are
the Creep Show, Tales from the Crypt.
Very true.
But Creep Show and Tales from the Crypt and
painful...
Did you watch the Bill Burr one? Did we ever talk about that one? Bill Burr did a horror anthology that on like Fubi. What's that channel
Tubi.
with like Tubi with the 10-minute episodes or whatever? What is that? Was that
I'm
Tubi?
gonna check that out. I think I know what you.
Those were really good
because I put them on my radar.
Yeah,
I search for horror anthologies. I go out of my way to search for them.
I'll have to look for the title of the exact title. But yeah, Bill Burr was the host for this horror anthology, and they did like 10 episodes. They were like 10 minutes each. They were really good.
Okay.
Short, quick, to the point.
There's like
lots of guest stars.
Horror. There's the American. There was the one that was on the Quibi. There was one that was on Quibi. That was like the 50 States of Horror. That was a horror anthology. That was actually probably
I don't think I saw that one.
Few good things that was on Quibi. As I said, Cabinet of Curiosities. Just so you know, The Viewing. The main reason why I like it, and I'll admit I like it because I like this person. Eric Andre is in it.
Oh, I like Eric Andre.
And I love Eric Andre. So
the Eric Andre show is so good.
Viewing. And he essentially plays the straight man, but then he just turns into straight Eric Andre.
Good. He has to be. That's why that's him at his best.
And it's RoboCop. RoboCop's in it. The original RoboCop is a character in that episode.
I can't remember his name.
When I see his name, I know it, but I
can't me too.
Think it's a very easy name.
I'll watch that one first then. I mean, like I said, I'll end up watching the whole set.
But tell me what you think at a future point. But yeah, with that damn Michael Che and HBO, it is on HBO Max. I suggest that show 100% to people because I want that show to continue.
It was really funny.
I want it to continue.
Really, really funny.
Michael Che is one of those comedians who understands the situation and then applies context to the situation without being like super preachy or vindictive.
Yeah,
so you get the point across with his like melancholy sarcasm. That's why I feel that was one of my favorite parts about SNL. SNL was whenever he was in Weekend Update.
Oh yeah, have you watched SNL lately?
I only really watch it if Donald Glover hosts or if Dave Chappelle hosts. Like it depends on who the host is.
Yeah, he was just on. And
he was on
I haven't
last
watched
Saturday.
that episode.
I didn't watch it. I'm going to watch it.
I watched like the opening monologue and the first couple skits. I haven't finished it, but yeah, it hasn't been great this year. SNL. I mean, it's been okay for the last few years.
SNL is a heartbeat. It's either going up or it's going down.
Yes, but to your point, Weekend Update is always fantastic because it's like you said, it's just great, smart, witty, fun writing.
And the friendship between I can't remember his name, the other guy,
Colin Jost,
for some reason. Yeah, Colin, because he's funny too, especially when he's with Michael Che.
My favorite part of the entire Saturday Night Live season is when they write the jokes for each other at the end of either at the end of the year or at the end of the actual season. I forget which it is.
They just dog each other.
Yeah, they just make jokes for each other, and it's always Colin saying racist jokes. It's just so uncomfortable.
What I like about Colin is he has like this blank white guy smile.
Yes, he does.
But he's essentially the same as Michael Che when it comes to the sarcasm.
Oh, absolutely.
So when Michael Che is just like, he has like this snide kind of smile and he's just like not present. Colin is like a robot where he's looking right at you with this bright smile.
Yeah.
But it's not like, it's just his deadpan, his deadpan, what's the word I'm looking for? Delivery is just so set, and he still does it with a smile, but he can get broken.
Oh, absolutely.
Michael Che breaks him constantly.
Regularly. Even when they have like the little like, guest skits.
The guests to fuck with him.
That break him all the time too. They did one, I think last week they had one with Cecily Strong, and she did that I guess, relatively well-known clown skit on abortion a
Mhm.
couple years ago, and she did one as a trucker, and it was the same thing, like using the trucker as a vehicle for talking about abortion. It was the same thing, but same thing. She broke him like multiple times. And he was just like couldn't keep it together because she was so ridiculous.
You know, with me with SNL, like I find myself liking a lot of cast members, but hating them leaning on certain things. Like I don't. Again, there's people I don't know their names. Obviously, Kenan Thompson. He was in Michael Che. Tell me his acting wasn't a million times better than when he's on SNL.
I
He
think
was only
for
a
him,
short
as
part of it, a small part of it.
when he's on SNL now, he basically plays the same character in every skit. Like he's
Yeah.
just Keenan in every skit.
He opens his eyes really wide, closes his mouth a little bit, and talks like this.
That was really good.
Everything he does is just him doing this. That's all he
Yeah.
does.
No,
And, like,
that's absolutely right.
Keenan, I like it when he has he does the sarcastic realm when he's like with people that work with him, and it happens very rarely when they're not just like phoning it in. But Keenan's just phoning it in because everyone loves him now.
Right.
But I'm like, when he was trying, it was actually funny.
Yeah,
When he
but
was doing
it's
Black
been-
Jeopardy. Black Jeopardy was fucking hilarious.
It was. But he's been on for like what, 15, 16 years now. It's
He-
at some
yeah,
point
I don't blame him and
at some point you're gonna get a little burned out and be like, it's just a check. Just a
I
paycheck.
mean, he's been doing skit comedy his entire life. Like,
Right. So yeah, that's true. It's not even like he's been on SNL for 16 years. He's been doing basically the same job for like his entire life.
then
fair.
there's like I think it's Leslie something, the really big
Leslie
black-
Jones. Yeah.
Leslie Jones. First time I ever saw her was in a show on YouTube called Daddy Knows Best.
I don't think
Daddy
I've ever
Knows
heard of it.
Best is basically the big-headed dude from The League being the worst father ever. It's a really funny show. It's fucked up. It is a fucked up show. But that was my first time seeing Leslie. He basically was being a terrible dad and left his baby in the park. And then he came back and Leslie's there
She's there as the kid.
protecting the child.
Oh, okay. Protecting the.
She's protecting the child, and he's trying to convince her to not tell his wife
Okay.
so he can bring his child home, and they're going at it, and she pulls a knife out on him, and he ends up it somehow flips into him like groping Leslie,
Okay.
and him and his wife in front of his wife, and then he gropes his wife at the same time. He's a terrible human being. I suggest watching this show too. It's from
Okay.
that My Damn Channel is not that great of a channel, but but Daddy Knows Best is pretty funny.
Okay.
It's fucked up. Like it gets real fucked up, like uncomfortably so. Like they end one skit, he yells at his wife. No, he didn't yell at his wife. His wife is yelling at him for doing something stupid, and he goes, "You sure you want to do that? You look like your mother." Like he said something really fucked up, and she stops and just puts her hands over her mouth and looks at him like she's about to cry, and just that moment hurt. Like in a skit, I'm just like, oh, that was too real. Like
Yeah.
he's just such a fucking monster. So he's just his character from
That's-
The League, but
that's not fair to
raw
do.
version of it.
Like, because if you're watching like a drama or something and there's one of those moments, like at least you're expecting it. And you're watching a skit,
Yeah,
you're not expecting that to hit you. So
fucking
it's even
rough.
more. Yeah, it's even rougher than. Anyway.
It's sort of like if you see like a Disney movie and then all of a sudden something really fucking creepy happens.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
12 times creepier.
that happens in most Disney movies. There's always something creepy in the older Disney movies that happens.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's super effective. I know we've just went on for too long and we're talking about nothing. So
That's okay. Do you have anything you want to say about the midterm elections?
no, I have
Any-
no
any-
interest. I've not been looking. I've
Yeah.
lost faith in any. I bitch about
Yeah, I don't-
politics because I've lost faith in it, and I never
I
had
don't have
faith
anything
to
to
begin
say
with.
about it
So
either. Yeah.
it just,
I had it on my
don't-
list
I'm
like
burnt.
because it just happened, and I was like, maybe it's something.
I'm
I don't
burnt.
really have anything to say either. I really don't.
The most I heard, like, the Dems kept the House. Okay, the shit's still the same. Nothing's positive has changed.
Yeah.
So
As far as I understand
I'm
it,
not-
it's just not as bad for the Democrats as they thought it was going to be. But it's like you said.
I do have
it's-
something to say on a serious note, though.
Sure.
If, like, since we're at the end,
Let's get
essentially.
serious.
So celebrity deaths don't bother me too much. But Kevin Conroy passing did bother me. Within
Yeah.
the last few weeks, I've had the same day that Kevin Conroy died, My friend's mother was found dead as well, and just yesterday, a friend of mine passed away. And I'm having a I'm joking and doing all this because talking to you really does help with that because I've been in my own head for the
Yeah, of
last
course.
20 something hours, and I just really want to put out, like, I don't care what anyone's full beliefs are, as long as they align with the betterment of all of us. We can argue it to the cows come home, whatever our beliefs are. We're never going to be 100% right. We're never going to be um, all knowing. We only going to spout what we believe. Again, I make fun of people who believe in religion or who are religious, not because I don't have my own beliefs and that could be absurd to someone else. It's that I make fun of the fact that you can be disingenuous because you want to hold so deeply onto that belief because it makes you who you are, or makes you part of an identity you feel like you have. And we all can do that. And so I just want to say, without the jokes that I make, as much as I rant, how much, we do this, I genuinely just want the best out of people, because I watched an interview with Kevin Conroy when he was talking about getting the role for Batman. And the one thing I can tell, not knowing the man, obviously, was his heart was in just voicing this character that he loved. And he seemed to not care about anything else. He was like, I have the best hero. Like, that's it. There's nothing else. And for him, that was a truth. It could be not true for someone else, but for him it was. And he was genuine about that. And that genuineness is what really mattered more than what he was saying. And so if you're going to argue a point, I want your arguments to be genuine. If they get challenged and you find you're wrong and you're genuine about it, you won't fight to try to prove it right. You'll fight to try to find more proof into adapting that thing you believe into being a better version of what it is. So if you feel like gay people shouldn't marry, okay, when you are challenged, don't make up shit. Don't just be biased. Find proof and see if that doesn't either change it into being something better. Well, you know what? Gay people shouldn't be married because the system isn't right for them to be married, so a new system needs to be made for it. Not just because God doesn't say so. Did God tell you that? Or did God apparently tell a bunch of people who wrote it into a book and then it was interpreted that way? Like, and you have to be able to think past your own feelings. And if somebody's not going to turn, then don't try to turn them. Just plant that seed and say, look, I'm going to stay strong on this belief and try to make it a better version of what it is. And the reason why I brought all those up, because my friend that passed, which was the nail over the head that pushed me over into this kind of weird headspace, is that he was a genuine person too. He believed in the things, even things he failed in, he believed in. He was a nice guy. Even when his ex-girlfriend's the one that told me, they had a bad breakup and they were still friends because he was a genuine guy. He's genuinely cared for her, even if they didn't work out. He didn't let his feelings get in the way. He was somebody that I aspire to try to be like. Even if I fail, I want to keep trying to be like him. And I feel like there should be more people that should be like that. Just sorry to get really
man,
side like that, but that's how I feel.
I get where you're coming from, and it sucks when it's hard, right? There's very few people, I think, nowadays that can do that, can think critically and recognize their faults, in the way they think or their arguments, and be able to acknowledge that and turn the page. So when we have somebody in our lives or somebody we know that is like that, and we lose them, it's just reinforces the fact that how special that was and how unique it is and how important those people are in our lives. Because I think the people out there that are like that also, like you said, there's somebody to aspire to, make us want to be better, be like that. When God, it happens to me all the time. Like I try to, we rant, we complain, and we bitch, and we try to, I'm not gonna speak for you. I'll speak for myself. I try to
No,
act
go
like
ahead.
I know what I'm talking about all the time, and I know better, and I think the right way, but I don't. I mean, there are all kinds of things that I take a stance on, or I take an opinion on, and it's just biased in some way, or it's just because I think it's the right thing to do without any necessarily any backup for it. So it sucks, man. It sucks when we have somebody like that that we lose. That we don't have that beacon to look to and say, okay, this is the way I want to get where I want to get to. This is the way I want to be. When you hit the dark spots and you're not totally there, you can look back to it and go, that's my goal. That's the way I got to be. And Kevin Conroy, I mean, for people like us that grew up watching Batman the animated series and played all the games, he is Batman. Like, he just is.
Yeah.
There are these guys that you could say, okay, Michael Keaton was Batman. A lot of people, he played him in 2 movies, and like, yeah, he was our Batman in the movies, but Kevin Conroy was our Batman all through our childhood into our adulthood. And that voice is always going to be Batman. You hear that voice and that's Batman. It's not, there's no debate. It's just, I mean, can you imagine like when Solid Snake got replaced by Kiefer Sutherland? Oh God, and I can't remember.
That hurt.
What the fuck is the guy's? Now I can't remember his name.
David Hayter.
David Hayter. There you go. It was like such a shock. Like Kevin Conroy, if he like him being replaced as the Batman voice would have been 20 times that. The like, what are you doing? So and he was a young guy, and a guy in his 60s. It's just rough. Because like you said, it's just a guy that loved what he did, and it's another thing to aspire to, and just be like, I want to love something as much as he loved being Batman. So it's a big loss, and I certainly hope he rests in peace. And I can't wait to go back through the catalog. I said the other day I was talking, I want to watch the animated series through all through again, the whole thing again. And go back and watch Mask of the Phantasm and The Killing Joke, and some of the other animated features he voiced, and just remember how good it was and how good he was.
Oh, absolutely. Like when you mentioned that, just because I've been thinking with Kevin Conroy being Batman was two things with Batman. One, the most iconic line when he's holding on to the edge of that blimp and he's like, no, I'm vengeance. Like that line.
Yep.
People don't seem like, when I think about it, it's like you're not understanding. This is why Batman specifically, and that's why parallel with Kevin Conroy is why he's so inspirational to me anyway, is at that moment, he wasn't standing on top of a building. He didn't beat up a villain. He was cowering. He was hanging on for dear life, trying to survive, and was able to dig deep and pull that energy out of him to go and keep fighting. He was cowering in that moment when we made that very famous line that will forever be burned into everyone's minds. And because I just finished beating Gotham Knights, and the game wasn't perfect, but it showed something. Is, when people diminish Batman as a character, and to me it always goes Kevin as well, is when he's just a rich guy beating up poor people, or he's the 1% doing this, that, and the other things. Like Batman, and writers mess this up all the fucking time with him too, is with Batman, he has never wanted to be the role model. He wanted to be an inspiring beacon. So when his sacrifice happens, when he dies, there'll be others that step up to the plate, not to be him, but to be better.
Sure.
It was said with every single protege that character had. It'll be for the next voice actor to love the role like Kevin did. It'll be like that. That's literally the Batman story. It's the story of a parent. I don't want you to be like me. I will be wrong, and I'd be a bad person if I wanted you to be like me. I want you to be a better person than I could have ever thought I could be. And that's how Batman was. And I feel like that's how Kevin played himself. That's how he presented himself anyway. And so him playing that role, I feel like if he embodied it, if he truly believed it, and the genuineness that I felt from hearing his interviews, that would be the case. So,
I agree.
Just losing that it hurt. It definitely hurt.
Yeah, it did. It was weird. It's weirdly so too. Almost,
Yeah,
weirdly so. It was just this is a guy
'cause
that
I generally
voices a
don't care about
character.
celebrity deaths.
Yeah,
I,
but
I
it's like
usually like it's
this is a
sad.
guy that
It's
voices a
sad.
character, and it's like really deep, really cut deep. Just I think part of it's also just like I said, it's just like it's been the voice of Batman our entire lives, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another thing that makes you reflect back on your own mortality too. It's just like, man, this is somebody I've referenced my whole life, and he's gone.
Yep.
Man, we got real dark here, Joaquin. Got a little
Sorry,
dark, a little deep.
No,
I
I tried burying it most of the.
I think it was important to do. It's
thing.
important to do, and I'm sorry for your losses, and I hope it does get better with time.
I feel just mine is always tangential. It would happen peripheral. I just feel I'm in a weird space right now. I feel somewhere between helpless and kind of numb. So
Yeah. No,
I just felt like I needed to
another
get that
field.
out. I know we made this about Kevin Conroy and not my friend because I don't want to get too personal about the two friends that have dealing with their problems.
Sure.
But Kevin Conroy, he's an icon. People know who he is. So
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more, and it's a great loss. Great loss. I can't even talk straight now. Just mumbling over myself.
a great
All right.
goose. What?
So anyway, thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. We appreciate it as always, and sorry it took so long to get back on air here. As usual,
If you're still listening,
if you're still listening, definitely even more so. Follow us on social media if you can. Subscribe to the podcast if you can. Share it with somebody if you can. Bunch of cans. We'd appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear them. You can email us at podcast@andthatiswhyihateyou.com. And I guess that's about it for this episode. Our clip show, our catch up episode.
Catch up.
We did enough complaining anyway, right? All right, guys.
We'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Complaining.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest
Once
with
we
you.
stop fucking up.
I felt a little lost with the lack of complaining over the last couple of weeks. I really did. I really felt like I was missing out. I just didn't feel like I didn't have an outlet. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.